Chloe, shh. No. No, you're not singing a song. I'm getting ready to read the Bible, Chloe. So, shh. Okay?
It's me.
Okay? Anyway. Hi, everybody. It's me, Yaya, and Chloe here. And we're going to read the Bible for you. And as you know, we're going to read the Amplified version. You know, because I feel like it fleshes out the intent of the Word of God more. And we read up to Numbers 18 yesterday, so we're going to start with Numbers 19 today. Okay? Okay, ordinance of the red heifer. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "This is..." Chloe, you want to leave the room?
No.
Then be quiet. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "This is the statute of the law which the Lord has commanded. Tell the Israelites to bring you an unblemished red heifer in which there is no defect, and on which a yoke has never been placed. You shall give it to Eleazar the priest, and it shall be brought outside the camp and be slaughtered in his presence." Okay. Next, Eleazar the priest shall take some of its blood with his finger and sprinkle some of it, blood with his finger, and sprinkle some of it toward the front of the tent of meeting or tabernacle 7 times. Then the heifer shall be burned in his sight. Its skin, its flesh, its blood, and its waste shall be burned or reduced to ash. The priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet material and cast them into the midst of the burning heifer. Then the priest shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, and afterward come into the camp, but he shall be ceremonially unclean.
Mama.
Yes, Noah?
What did my toy had this?
I don't know, Noah. I have no idea what that is. But let me finish reading, Noah, okay?
Mama, after you finish reading, you can tell me what it is.
I can try to find out. Chloe, stop it. I can try to find out, okay?
I'm saying the
Did
clip. Did Daddy tell my thought to the daddy the because the daddy said in his dad's
No, I don't know. No, let me finish reading, okay? Thanks, sweetie pie.
Mom, what's this?
Yes, sweetie pie. No, I'm reading right now. Okay, so anyhow. Then the priest shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, and afterward come into the camp. But he shall be Chloe, stop it. But he shall be ceremonially unclean until evening. The one who burns the heifer shall wash his clothes. Chloe, stop. You're going to have to leave. Okay. Until evening. The one who burns the heifer shall wash his clothes and bathe his... Okay. Hold on, guys. Hi, guys. Now, a man who is ceremonially clean shall collect the ashes of the heifer and deposit them outside the camp in a clean place. And the congregation of the Israelites shall keep it for water to remove impurity. It is to be used for purification from sin. The one who gathers the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. This shall be a perpetual statute to the Israelites and to the stranger who lives as a resident alien among them. The one who touches the dead body of any person shall be unclean for 7 days. That one shall purify himself from uncleanness with the water made with the ashes of the burned heifer on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, and then he will be clean. But if he does not purify himself on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, he will not be clean. Whoever touches a corpse, the body of anyone who has died, and does not purify himself, defiles the tabernacle of the Lord, and that person shall be cut off from Israel. In brackets it says, that is excluded from the atonement made for them. Because the water for impurity was not sprinkled on him, he shall be unclean. His uncleanness is still on him. This is the law when a man dies in a tent. Everyone who comes into the tent and everyone who is in the tent shall be ceremonially unclean for 7 days. Every open container in the tent, which has no covering tied down on it, is unclean. Also, anyone in the open field who touches one who has been killed with a sword, or who has died of natural causes, or a human bone, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. Then for the unclean person they shall take some of the ashes of the heifer burnt for the purification from sin, and running water shall be added to them in a container. A clean person shall take hyssop and dip it in the water and sprinkle it on the tent and on all the furnishings and on the people who were in there, and on the one who touched the bone, or the one who was killed, or the one who died naturally, or the grave. Then the clean person shall sprinkle the water for purification on the unclean person on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. And on the 7th day the unclean man shall purify himself, and wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and shall be ceremonially clean at evening. But the man who is unclean and does not purify himself, that person shall be cut off from among the assembly, because he has defiled the sanctuary of the Lord. The water for purification has not been sprinkled on him. He is unclean. So it shall be a perpetual statute to them. He who sprinkles the water for impurity on another shall wash his clothes, and he who touches the water for impurity shall be unclean until evening. Furthermore, anything the unclean person touches shall be unclean, and anyone who touches it shall be ceremonially unclean until evening. Okay. Okay. So next, chapter 20. Death of Miriam. Then the Isrealites, the whole congregation, came into the wilderness of Zin in the 1st month, in the 40th year after leaving Egypt. And the people lived in Kadesh. Miriam died there and was buried there. Now there was no water for the congregation, and they gathered together against Moses and Aaron. The people contended with Moses and said, "If only we had perished when our brothers perished in the plague before the Lord. Why have you brought up the assembly of the Lord into this wilderness to die here, we and our livestock? Why have you made us come up from Egypt to bring us to this wretched place? It is not a place of grain, or of figs, or of vines, or of pomegranates, and there is no water to drink." Then Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly to the doorway of the tent of meeting, or tabernacle, and fell on their faces before the Lord in prayer. Then the glory and brilliance of the Lord appeared to them, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, the water, it's interesting. Then it gives another title here, the water of Meribah. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Take the rod, and you and your brother Aaron assemble the congregation and speak to the rock in front of them, so that it will pour out its water. In this way you shall bring water for them out of the rock, and let the congregation and their livestock drink fresh water." So Moses took the rod from before the Lord, just as he had commanded him, and Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly before the rock. Moses said to them, "Listen now, you rebels, must we bring you water out of this rock?" Then Moses raised his hand in anger, and with his rod he struck the rock twice, instead of speaking to the rock as the Lord had commanded. And the water poured out abundantly, and the congregation and their livestock drank fresh water. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you have not believed or trusted me and in parentheses it says trusted me, to treat me as holy in the sight of the sons of Israel, you therefore shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them. These are the waters of Meribah, or contention, or strife, where the sons of Israel contended with the Lord, and he showed himself holy among them." Yeah, Coco, what is that? If you're going to be over here, you got to be good. You hear me?
Good.
Oh, you're sure? Okay. Hold on a sec. Okay, I'm back. Okay. Chloe, sit down. Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the kingdom of Edom. Thus says your brother Israel, you know all the hardship that has come upon us as a nation, that our fathers or ancestors went down to Egypt, and we lived there for a long time, and the Egyptians treated both us and our fathers badly. But when we cried out to the Lord for help, he heard us and sent an angel and brought us out of Egypt. Now look, we are in Kadesh, a city on the edge of your territory. Please let us pass through your land. We will not pass through a field or through a vineyard. We will not even drink water from a well. We will go along the king's highway, not turning off course to the right or to the left until we have passed through your territory. But the king of Edom said to him, you shall not pass through my territory, or I will come out against you with the sword. Again the Israelites said to him, we will go by the highway, trade route, in brackets, trade route. And if I and my livestock drink any of your water, then I will pay for it. Only let me pass through on foot, nothing else. But the king of Edom said, you shall not pass through my territory. And Edom came out against Israel with many people and a strong hand. Thus the king of Edom refused to give Israel passage through his territory. So Israel turned away from him. Now when they set out for Kadesh, the Israelites, the whole congregation, came to Mount Hor. Death of Aaron. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron at Mount Hor, by the border of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron will be gathered to his people in death, for he shall not enter the land which I have given to the children of Israel, because you both rebelled against my command at the waters of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up to Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, and put them on Eleazar his son. So Aaron will be gathered to his fathers and will die there. So Moses did just as the Lord had commanded, and they went up Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. After Moses stripped Aaron of his priestly garments and put them on Eleazar his son, Aaron died there on the mountaintop. Then Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain. When all the congregation saw that Aaron had died, all the house of Israel wept or mourned for him 30 days. Okay, so I'm down here in the footnotes. See, is there anything juicy? Okay, so let me go back. Numbers 20:12. Chloe, sit down. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, because you have not believed, in parentheses, trusted me, to treat me as holy in the sight of the sons of Israel, you therefore shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them. Okay. And it says here, Moses apparently allowed his anger and frustration with the Israelites to blind him to the significance of what God had instructed. Although thoroughly exasperated by the Israelites, Moses was still held accountable for his behavior. Yeah, sometimes we got to be held accountable, right? It's not pleasant, but sometimes we do. Right? God help us, right? Okay, in 2014, so it's saying down here in the footnotes, they talk about the king of Edom, who's not letting them pass through his territory, not even on the trade route, the king's highway.
Okay.
And so it's reminding us here, the Edomites were descendants of Esau, Jacob's or Israel's twin brother. And remember, Jacob later was renamed Israel. Okay, let's see. Okay, and talking about that the king's highway, that trade route in the lands of Edom, it says this major trade route extended from the Gulf of Aqaba, in parentheses south, to Damascus, in parentheses north. Okay, Numbers 21. Okay. So this chapter is called Arad Conquered. When the Canaanite, the king of Arad, who lived in the Negev, in parentheses the south country, heard that Isreal was coming by the way of Atharim, in brackets, the route traveled by the spies sent out by Moses, he fought against Israel and took some of them captive. So Israel made a vow to the Lord and said, if you will indeed hand over these people to me, then I will utterly destroy their cities. The Lord heard the voice of Israel and handed over the Canaanites. Then they utterly destroyed them and their cities. So the name of the place was called Hormah, in parentheses, dedicate to destruction. Then they set out from Mount Hor by the way of the branch of the Red Sea called the Gulf of Aqaba, to go around the land of Edom. Chloe, sit down. Chloe, sit down. Okay. Called the Gulf of Aqaba, to go around the land of Edom. And the people became impatient because of the challenges of the journey. So the people spoke to God and against God, and so the people spoke against God and Moses. So the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, nor is there any water, and we loathe this miserable food. Wow. Okay, now I don't know if they're talking about manna and quail. If they are, that is an incredibly dangerous thing to say. I like to think I'd be smarter than that. Okay, anyhow, the bronze serpent. Then the Lord sent fiery burning serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and many Israelites died. So the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord so that he will remove the serpents from us. So Moses prayed for the people. Then the Lord said to Moses, make a fiery serpent of bronze and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten will live when he looks at it. So Moses made a serpent of bronze and put it on the pole, and it happened that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he looked to the bronze serpent, he lived. Okay, let me pause. Okay. Hi guys, I'm back. Okay, so Moses prayed for the people. Then the Lord said to Moses, make a fiery serpent of bronze and set it on a pole. Everyone who is bitten will live when he looks at it. So Moses made a serpent of bronze and put it on the pole. And it happened that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he looked at the bronze serpent, he lived. So I think we've all seen like a picture in medicine of a serpent wrapped around a pole. So I'm not sure if that's where that comes from. Now the sons of Israel moved out and camped at Oboth. They journeyed on from Oboth and camped at Abiram, in the wilderness facing Moab, toward the sunrise. From there they set out and camped in Wadi Zered. From there they journeyed. Chloe, be quiet and sit down. Okay. From there they journeyed on and camped on the other side of the river Arnon, which is in the wilderness that extends from the boundaries of the Amorites. For the river Arnon is the boundary of Moab, between Moab and Amorites. That is why it is said in the book of the wars of the Lord, Waheb in Suphah, and the wadis of the Arnon River, and the slope of the wadis. That stretches toward the site of Ar and leans to the border of Moab. Holly, do me a favor. Skip that ad, babe. Okay. From there, the Israelites went on to Beer. That is the well where the Lord said to Moses, gather the people together and I will give them water. Then Israel sang this song. Spring up, O well, sing to it, the well which the leaders dug, which the nobles of the people hollowed out, with the scepter and with their staffs. How do you know that's the real? I don't know, I'm making it up.
Why is that what I do whenever I'm reading a book?
Why not?
Whenever I feel like everyone does this. You're reading a book, someone's singing a song,
Mama!
You sing along with it very quietly and make up your own tune.
Noah, sit down. That's right, Holly baby. Why not? Okay. And from the wilderness Israel journeyed to Matana. And from Matana, Nahaliel. Chloe, sit down. And from Nahaliel to Bamo. And from Bamo to the valley that is in the fields of Moab, to the top of Pisgah, which looks down on the wasteland. 2 victories. Chloe, sit down. Sit down. 2 victories. Then Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, "Let me pass through your land, and we will not turn away." Okay. Hold on. Okay, hi guys. 2 victories. Then Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, "Let me pass through your land. We will not turn away from the road into field or vineyard. We will not drink the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway until we have crossed your border." But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his border. Instead, Sihon gathered all his people together and Noah, sit down. And went out against Israel into the wilderness and came to Jahaz, and he fought against Israel. Okay. I'm back. Okay. But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his border. Instead, Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel into the wilderness and came to Jahaz, and he fought against Israel. Then Israel struck the king of the Amorites with the edge of the sword and took possession of his land from the Arnon to the Jabbok, as far as the Ammonites. For the boundary of the Ammonites saying strong. For the boundary of the Ammonites was strong. Israel took all these cities and settled in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon and in all its towns. Okay. For the boundary of the Ammonites was strong. Israel took all the cities and settled in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon and in all its towns. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab, and had taken all his land out of his hand, as far as Arnon. That is why those who use Proverbs say, "Come to Heshbon, let the city of Sihon be built and established. For fire has gone out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It devoured Ar of Moab, and the lords of the heights of the Arnon. Woe, in parentheses, judgment is coming to you, Moab. You are destroyed, O people of the god Chemosh. Moab has given his sons as fugitives, that is, survivors of battle, and his daughters into captivity, to Sihon, king of the Amorites. We have shot them down with arrows. Heshbon is destroyed as far as Dibon, and we have laid them waste as far as Nophah, which reaches to Medeba." Thus Israel settled in the land of the Amorites. Now Moses sent men to spy out Jazer, and they overthrew its villages and dispossessed the Amorites who were there. Then they turned and went up by the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, went out against them, and he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. But the Lord said to Moses, "Do not fear him, for I have handed over him and all his people and his land to you, and you shall do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived at Heshbon." So the sons of Israel killed Og and his sons and all his people until there was no survivor left to him, and they took possession of his land. Okay, I'm down in the footnotes. Okay. So, Numbers 21:14. Okay, it says here, that is why it is said in the book of the wars of the Lord, Waheb in Suphah, and Wadis of Arnon River, and the slope of the Wadis that stretches toward the site of Ar and leans to the border of Moab. The book of the wars of the Lord. And it says down here, it says a non-canonical work, which unfortunately has been lost. Okay. And then let's see. Okay. Oh, and then also referencing 21:14, it says probably a place in Moab. However, some of the rabbis took Sufa to be a reference to the Red Sea. In parentheses, it says Yam Suf in Hebrew, and maintained that these words imply God performed miracles for Israel in the valleys of Arnon, such as he did at the Red Sea. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read one last chapter today. Okay, chapter 22, Balak sends for Balaam. The Israelites journeyed and camped in the plains of Moab on the east side of the Jordan River across from Jericho. And Balak, the king of Moab, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. So Moab was terrified because of the people, for they were numerous. Moab was overcome with fear because of the sons of Israel. Moab said to the elders of Midian, now this horde will lick up all that is around us, just as the ox licks up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was the king of Moab at that time. So he sent messengers to Balaam, in brackets, a famous prophet diviner, the son of Beor at Pethor, which is by the Euphrates River, in the land of the descendants of his people, to call for him, saying, there is a people who have come out of Egypt. Behold, they cover the surface of the land, and they are living opposite me. Now please come, curse these people for me, for they are too powerful for me. Perhaps I will be able to defeat them and drive them out of the land, for I know your reputation, that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed. So the elders of Moab and of Midian departed with fees for divination, foretelling in hand, and they came to Balaam and told him the words of Balak. Balaam said to them, spend the night here, and I will bring word back to you as the Lord may speak to me. So the leaders of Moab stayed with Balaam that night. God came to Balaam and said, who are these men with you? Balaam said to God, Balak, the son of Zippor, the king of Moab, has sent word to me. Hear this, the people who came out of Egypt cover the surface of the land. Come now, curse them for me. Perhaps I may be able to fight against them and drive them out. God said to Balaam, do not go with them. You shall not curse the people of Israel, for they are blessed. Balaam got up in the morning and said to the leaders of Balak, go back to your own land of Moab, for the Lord has refused to let me go with you. The leaders of Moab arose and went to Balak and said, Balaam refused to come with us. Then Balak again sent leaders more numerous and men who were more distinguished than the first ones. They came to Balaam and said to him, thus says Balak, the son of Zippor, I beg you, let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will give you a very great honor, and I will do whatever you tell me. So please come, curse these people of Israel for me. Balaam answered the servants of Balak, even if Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I would not do anything, either small or great, contrary to the command of the Lord my God. Now please, you also stay here tonight, and I will find out what else the Lord will say to me. God came to Balaam at night and said to him, if the men have come to you to call you, get up and go with them, but you shall still do only what I tell you. So Balaam got up in the morning and saddled his donkey and went with the leaders of Moab, the angel and Balaam. But God's anger was kindled because he was going, and the angel of the Lord took his stand in the way as an adversary against him. Now he was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way and his drawn sword in his hand, the donkey turned off the path and went into the field. But Balaam struck the donkey to turn her head back toward the path. Yes, Chloe? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. But the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path of the vineyards, with a stone wall on this side and a stone wall on that side. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pressed herself against the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against it, and he struck her again. The angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no room to turn, either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam. So Balaam was angry, and he struck the donkey a third time with his staff. And the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?" Then Balaam said to the donkey, "Because you have made a mockery of me. If there has been a sword in my hand, I would have killed you by now." The donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your donkey on which you have ridden all your life until this day? Have I ever been accustomed to do so to you?" And he said, "No." Oh, okay. Okay. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand. And he bowed his head and laid himself face down. The angel of the Lord said to him, "Why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? Behold, I have come out to stand against you, because your behavior was obstinate and contrary to me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If she had not turned away from me, I would have certainly killed you now and let her live." Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, "I have sinned, for I did not know that you were standing in the way against me. But now if my going displeases you, I will turn back." The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but you shall speak only what I tell you." So Balaam went along with the leaders of Balak. When Balak heard that Balaam was coming, he went out to meet him at the city of Moab, which is on the border at the Arnon River, at the farthest end of the border. Balak said to Balaam, "Did I not urgently send word to you to call you? Why did you not come to me immediately? Am I really unable to honor or pay you?" So Balaam said to Balak, "Indeed, I have come to you now, but am I able to say anything at all? The word that God puts in my mouth, that I shall speak." And Balaam went with Balak, and they came to Kiriath Huzoth. Balak sacrificed oxen and sheep and sent some to Balaam and to the leaders who were with him. Then it came about in the morning that Balak took Balaam and brought him up to the high places of Baal. From there he saw a portion of the Isrealites. Okay. So I'm down here in the footnotes. Okay. Numbers 22:5. Okay. So he sent messengers to Balaam, a famous prophet diviner, the son of Beor at Pethor, which is by the Euphrates River. Okay. Okay. So it says here, Balaam had some awareness and knowledge regarding the true God, but he abused the office of prophet. Okay, in 22:21. So Balaam got up in the morning and saddled his donkey and went with the leaders of Moab. Okay, the ancient rabbis saw in this action an indication that Balaam was eager to go with the messengers, because it was not considered appropriate for a man of importance to saddle his own mount. Okay. Okay. Now this is interesting. Okay, verse 22. Okay, the angel at Balaam. But God's anger was kindled because he was going, and the angel of the Lord took us because he was going. So I thought that was interesting. I wanted to be careful what I said, but I was wondering, why is God opposing? Why is God angry at him for going when God told him to go? I didn't get that. So it explains down here in the footnotes. It says Balaam went with God's permission, but his motives were in opposition to God's will. Okay. Okay. And then when it speaks of angel, right, it says, or angel of the Lord, it's saying the angel has been capitalized here to reflect the likelihood that it is God appearing in a visible form. So that I never really knew this until like reading all these footnotes, but it's interesting. It's saying that sometimes when they're referring to an angel, they're really referring to God, appearing in visible form. So I guess, in visible form, he looked like what one would think of as an angel. Okay, so hi guys. Normally this I wouldn't continue, but I feel like I have to finish this story. So I'm moving on to chapter 23. Okay, 1 second, Chloe. Here you go, sweetie. Eat this out front. Eat this out front, okay? Okay. Then Balaam said to Balak, so chapter 23, the prophecies of Balaam. Then Balaam said to Balak, build 7 altars for me here, and prepare for me 7 bulls and 7 rams here. Balak did just as Balaam had said, and Balak and Balaam offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Then Balaam said to Balak, stand beside your burnt offering, and I will go. Perhaps the Lord will come to meet me, and whatever he shows me, I will tell you. So he went to a desolate hill. Now God met Balaam, who said to him, I have prepared 7 altars, and I have offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Then the Lord put a speech in Balaam's mouth and said, return to Balak, and you shall speak thus. Balaam returned to Balak, and behold, he was standing by his burnt sacrifice, he and all the leaders of Moab. Balaam took up his first discourse, oracle, and said, Balak, the king of Moab, has brought me from Aram, in parentheses, Syria, from the mountains of the east, saying, come, curse the descendants of Jacob for me, and come violently denounce Isreal. How shall I curse those whom God has not cursed? Or how can I violently denounce those the Lord has not denounced? For from the top of the rocks I see Isreal, and from the hills I look at him. Behold, the people of Israel shall dwell alone, and will not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust, the descendants of Jacob, and the number of even the 4th part of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, in brackets, those who are upright and in right standing with God. And let my end be like this. And let my end be like his.
Mommy, Mary.
Okay. Then Balak said to Balaam, what have you done to me? I brought you to curse my enemies, but here you have thoroughly blessed them instead. Balaam answered, must I not be obedient and careful to speak what the Lord has put in my mouth? Balak said to him, come with me. I implore you to another place from where you can see them, although you will see only the nearest and not all of them, and curse them for me from there. So he took Balaam to the fields of Zophim, to the top of Mount Pisgah, and built 7 altars, and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Balaam said to Balak, stand here beside your burnt offering, while I go to meet the Lord over there. Then the Lord met Balaam, and put a speech in his mouth, and said, go back to Balak, and you shall speak thus. When Balaam returned to Balak, he was standing beside his burnt offering, and the leaders of Moab were with him. And Balak said to him, what has the Lord spoken? Balaam took up his second discourse, or in parentheses, oracle, and said, rise up, O Balak, and hear. Listen closely to me, son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not make it good and fulfill it? Behold, I have received this command to bless Israel. He has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. God has not observed wickedness in Jacob, for he is forgiven. Nor has he seen trouble in Israel. The Lord their God is with Israel, and the shout of their king is among the people. God brought them out of Egypt. They have the strength of a wild ox, for there is no enchantment or omen against Jacob, nor is there any divination against Israel. At the proper time it shall be said to Jacob and to Israel, what has God done? Behold, the people rises up like a lioness and lifts itself up like a lion. He will not lie down until he devours the prey and drinks the blood of the slain. Then Balak said to Balaam, neither curse them at all nor bless them at all. But Balaam answered Balak, did I not say to you that the Lord speaks that I must do? Then Balak said to Balaam, please come, I will take you to another place. Perhaps it will please God to let you curse them for me from there. So Balak brought Balaam to the top of Mount Peor that overlooks the wasteland. And Balaam said to Balak, build 7 altars for me here and prepare for me 7 bulls and 7 rams here. Balak did just as Balaam had said and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Okay, moving on to Numbers 24. The prophecy from Peor. When Balaam said that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he did not go as he had done each time before, superstitiously, to seek omens and signs in the natural world, but he set his face toward the wilderness or desert. And Balaam raised his eyes, and he saw Israel living in their tents, tribe by tribe, and the Spirit of God came on him. He took up his third discourse, in parentheses, oracle, and said, so he took up his third discourse, in parentheses, oracle, and said, the oracle of Balaam, the son of Beor, and the oracle of the man whose eye is opened, in brackets, at last, to see clearly the purpose and will of God. The oracle of one who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down, but having his eyes opened and uncovered. How fair are your tents, O Jacob, and your tabernacles, O Israel. Like valleys they stretch out, like gardens beside the river, like aloes planted by the Lord, like cedars beside waters. Water, in brackets, that is, great blessings, will flow from his buckets, and his offspring will live by many waters, and his king will be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brought Israel out of Egypt. Israel has strength like the wild ox. He will devour Gentile nations, his adversaries or enemies, and will crush their bones in pieces and shatter them with his arrows. He bowed down to rest. He lies down as a lion, and as a lioness who dares to rouse him. Blessed of God is he who blesses you, and cursed of God is he who curses you. What a beautiful, beautiful oracle. Then Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he struck his hands together. And Balak said to Balaam, I called you to curse my enemies, but behold, you have done nothing but bless them these 3 times. I had intended to honor you greatly, but behold, the Lord has held you back from honor. Balaam said to Balak, did I not tell your messengers whom you had sent to me? Even if Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the command of the Lord, to do either good or bad of my own accord. What the Lord speaks, that I will speak. And now, look, I am going to my people. Come, I will advise you as to what this people, Israel, will do to your people, Moab, in the days to come. He took up his 4th discourse, in parentheses, oracle, and said, the oracle of Balaam, the son of Beor, the oracle of the man whose eye is open, the oracle of him who hears the words of God and knows the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down, but having his eyes opened and uncovered. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come forth from the descendants of Jacob. A scepter shall rise out of the descendants of Israel, and shall crush the forehead of Moab, and destroy all the sons of Sheth. Edom shall be taken as a possession. Mount Seir, Israel's enemies, also will be a possession. And while Israel performs valiantly, one from the descendants of Jacob shall have dominion and will destroy the remnant from the city. Balaam looked at Amalek and took up his 5th discourse, in parentheses, oracle, and said, Amalek was the first of the neighboring nations to oppose the Israelites after they left Egypt, but his end shall be destruction. And Balaam looked at the Kenites and took up his 6th discourse, or oracle, and said, strong is your dwelling place, and you set your nest in the cliff. Nevertheless, the Kenites will be consumed. How long will Asshur, Assyria, keep you, Israel, captive? Then he took up his 7th discourse, or oracle, and said, alas, who can live unless God has ordained it? But ships shall come from the coast of Kittim, and shall afflict Asshur, Assyria, and Eber. So they, the victors, also will come to destruction. Then Balaam arose and departed and returned to his place, and Balak also went on his way. So I'm down in the footnotes. What a beautiful saying. Okay, Agag was the title of the Amalekite kings, and here it represents the kingdom of the Gentiles. The Amalekites at that time were the most powerful of all the desert tribes. Okay. After the time of David, who forced... Okay, after the time of David, who was forced to rescue two of his wives from Amalekite bandits, the Amalekites are mentioned again only in Hezekiah's time. Then it says,
Chloe, put them back.
Hold on. Okay, so Cyprus and the greater part of the Mediterranean coast. What's this? What is that? Oh. Okay, so Numbers 24:24. And it says, but ships shall come from the coast of Kittim. And so Kittim, it says that is Cyprus and the greater part of the Mediterranean's east coast. And then also 24:24, letter G, and shall afflict Asshur or Assyria and Eber. Okay, and it's saying the Hebrews, certain Arabs, and the descendants of Nahor are included in that. Okay. Hey guys, I'm back. So that was chapters 19 through 24. And so anyhow, that was interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. And have a wonderful evening and day. And thank you so much for watching. And may God bless you real good.